Yeah, barring any illnesses, technical difficulties,
fires, everything else we had to deal with last time with the internet kicking in and out. So we're back. This is week 10 of the Spring Wine Series. Last week we took a break for the Homebrewers Party, and I got some interviews from those guys. They'll be released probably this weekend or early next week. We got a lot of footage and stuff that we want to condense down. Some great interviews. We talked a little bit about things like barley wine and mead, which is honey wine. Kombucha, how to make kombucha, which is, everybody drinks it, but nobody knows what it is.
Well, no, downstairs has like the jar with the mother, and the mother just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Oh, that's cool.
And so they have, and then you just pull it out. I know in Tahoe I used to live, like everybody I knew had the same kombucha mother. I mean, you just went to the health food store. I wish you remember the name of that place. And you would just buy your mother and then feed it and keep it watered, and it just keeps growing and growing. Empty it out. But it looks like a blob.
I've never seen it.
Oh no, it looked like something from a Yes album.
I like that.
It's a blob, just like a vinegar mother is the same thing.
Okay.
So they look like a piece of jellyfish.
Okay.
And it tends to take the shape of the container. So you got a little disc, and then you got another one, and then you get a bigger one. And you pull it out, and just like sourdough, always the same principle.
Right.
You just keep feeding it. It keeps eating it and fermenting it, and I guess it's the same fermentation. Not the same, but it's just like yeast in a wine. Yeah, it'll be the same.
That's why I was asking them. I said, are they alcoholic? And they said, generally they're small. If it's closed, then there's no, then the alcohol is very minimal. But you can open it up and you can actually make them, with a little kick to them. So I don't know. That'd be fun.
You do that with your cider too.
Yeah, exactly. So anyways, we're here. It is the 10th week. So welcome back, wine lovers, winos, and the curious, to the 10th Spring Wine Series. We only have one more, which is going to be in 2 weeks, because next week, right before Memorial Weekend, we're going to have a little fun with decanting and some Bordeaux's and some other stuff. We're also I'm also going to be doing a wine dinner with Shima here in Isla Mirada. So we'll be on Friday, which will be kind of fun. So I'm going to host that with those guys, and we're going to...
Is that open to the public?
That is open to the public. The tickets are available right now. If you can call Shima for that.
Did you see that guy is going to Little Palm Island? Kind of some famous sushi chef, and he's there for like 3 weeks or something, and it's $300 per plate. That's at Little Palm Island. That would be nice.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can't stay there, why go?
Right.
But it looked very interesting. I just saw it advertised, and I said, "Oh, that's interesting."
That would be kind of fun. Three Waters is starting to do some chef stuff down here too, which used to be Holly Island down here in the Keys. But
so we used to do a thing, and maybe we could do it here. We used to do a thing that was called Eat Your Heart Out, and a restaurant I ran in Lake Tahoe, or in Squaw Valley, and we had a featured artist and a featured winery each month, and it was really fun. It was because everybody, we do these secret little. You write down what you think, your little tasting notes like we'll do later on, and then people put them in, and half of them were funny, but what did you like? Was it about the art? Was it about the wine? Was it, when you have the winemaker talk and the artist was pretty cool.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Sure, you feed lots of wine, we'll talk about it.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that sounds like a great idea.
Yeah.
And actually, Rich and I are going to be doing a wine and cheese pairing here after this, and we're here at Realty One. Engage the Keys, and they host. We provide food for them as they host a pre-party every third Thursday art walk, and Rich and I started doing these things together here, so we're having some fun, and we're doing
wine to talk about it.
Grüner Veltliner. So the last time we were together, we did Steen,
which was a Shin, and so off the wall. And they're kind of cool. They're fun. If you're a Chardonnay, wineries or sommeliers sometimes will say ABC, anything but Chardonnay, anything but Cabernet. So I think Tom has proven that that's a logical choice, although later on we're going to taste the Cabernet. But that ABC thing kind of flows, especially in California, where my friends are sommeliers in Lake Tahoe. I mean, he almost, I looked at his wine list. I didn't recognize it. You know what I mean? Because he's been doing his wine research and there where, you know, once I moved to the Keys, my research went more to rum.
Yeah, there you go.
Found
that happens down there.
So, and you know, we used to always, Grüner kind of came on the scene. I mean, we used to serve 2 or 3 Grüners in Tahoe. Okay. And it's a great wine. It's though you would your initial thought maybe that it's a light wine. It grows on you. It's, I don't want to say thick, but it's a medium bodied at least. And I'm seeing, like, am I seeing the gold behind there? No, I'm seeing the color of the wines. I don't know if you can see that, but it is pale yellow, straw, which in a Chardonnay would indicate an older wine. You start getting the straw. If you've got a Chardonnay that color, it's probably 6 or 7 years old. So, you know, I'm sure it's a function of the grape and of course where it's grown, and you know.
In Austria, you don't see a lot of Austrian wines.
No. But I'm sure a lot of them don't even leave Austria, and that's what happens to a lot of wines. You know, it's like white port. It's rare to find white port outside of Portugal, although I always look for it. But in Portugal, it's at every tapas bar you go to.
Yeah, Pinot Noir in Germany, they call it Spätburgunder, and they never ship any of that. I was able to try some one time. Yeah. So
anyway, it seems like Grüner you can find pretty easily, and it's rather inexpensive on the whole scale. But I did ask. I asked AI today, what's the most expensive bottle? They had a bottle for $520, which is way up there for a white wine anyway, and a white wine of little known varietal, so I was surprised to see that, and also I was telling Tom, I saw it's they also make a Trockenbeeren Auslesen, which is basically German Sauterne. The easiest way to look at it, because you know you can go Beeren Auslesen and Trockenbeeren Auslesen. That means that they are literally harvesting grapes that are covered in mold, pretty much covered. I did it in Mendocino at Hush, and the guy goes, "Eat that." I go, "I don't think so." Eat that, and it was one of the greatest tastes that I ever passed through my mouth. It tasted like it was.
You got through the fuzziness.
It was really hard. Yeah, the texture, but the taste was pretty cool. So, you know, again, who knows what they'll do with grapes wherever they grow them, and you know, you'll probably find that had to be down by the river. That's where usually you find the mold will be in the moisture spots, as we well know here.
Exactly. And I did a little, I went online to see what people would, if you were trying to figure out what Grüner Veltliner was, and you go do a search on it. Not a lot of information on the internet. You got to dig a little bit. A lot of it was, to me, a little bit not true to what Grüner Veltliner is. Back in the 90s, 2000s, a lot of the sommeliers really, we used to put that thing on the list and turn people onto it because it's a good food wine, and it's something different, and it's it's an Austrian. Everybody says, "Oh, Australia," no, Austria,
right?
Austria. And you don't think about it, and they actually grow this grape in Germany also, and they've got a whole different name for it. I forgot to write it down, but it's one of those things.
Are they like Germany, just like vertical vineyards?
I don't know.
I wonder, because in Germany, again, my buddy JB, he went to Germany and he just was shocked. I mean, you're riding on. He was on a boat on the Rhine. And they just go straight up. I mean, with levels like imagine the pictures you see of rice fields on the hillside. I mean, just and how they hold on, who knows? Yeah, but
that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. So
All right, so we're going to taste this one because a lot of times what you read about this is that this is they call it light and crisp, and it does have good acidity, pretty good acidity to it, but they say green apple. I've always associated an apple quality to it, but not necessarily green apple. So we'll see what this one.
And that's the thing me and Tom were talking about. There's a little thing. It's sort of a flavor wheel.
Yeah.
And so you got green apple, and what's the difference between green apple and stone fruit, or I've even seen wines described as they have as a baked apple, right? So it kind of just go for the category. Get it into apple, and they're gonna be pear next to it or something, or is it citrus? And it's two times you're doing that. Once with the smell, and totally green apple.
Yeah.
And you'll find,
which I didn't expect.
You start drinking, and somebody says something. Boy, you're gonna taste it. You're drinking a Merlot, and you go, "What is that?" And the guy goes, "Blueberry." And you go, "Oh, okay, I taste blueberry." So you can be very suggested to taste something, but it's not hard to smell green apple, and then
No, that's definitely.
you can go really. Well, I think it's a Gravenstein. And I don't know about you, Tom, but I always say that there's a nose, and I just got the nose, and then I do a little spin, still on the nose. Now I opened up some of that little spiciness or herbs on that. But so I call that still the nose, but then when I do this, I call that the bouquet. I may be wrong, but there's a difference in what you smell, and then what you smelled when you swirl, and then what happened to you when you took a little bit on your palate. So it drinks lighter body than I expected.
Yeah, it is lighter. Like I said, normally you'll see these around medium body. I always used to describe it to people as medium, and some of them would be light to medium. This one is pretty refreshing. It does have, even though it is a little crisp and does have pretty good acidity, it still has a little bit of that creaminess on the mid palate. So it doesn't get totally,
And one thing on acidity, and I'll probably say this every time you hear me drink a wine, if you want to know if a wine is acidic, you take a sip, you swallow, and 1 second later, your mouth starts to water like it's waiting for food. And so that's an acidic wine. And that's why a wine like this, or a Sauvignon Blanc, or that Steam, that high acidity makes it go better with more foods. Where a big old fat flabby Chardonnay, it's not leaving room for a whole set of foods. It's certainly going great. I read an article where it was all winemakers in Napa and all Chardonnay makers, and what food goes with your Chardonnay? And I think it was 6 out of 10 lobster. Because of the richness of the lobster and the whole bit. But this acidity, we'll have to test it out. And then I saw this thing, one of their term is white pepper. I was a chef for years. It was hard to even find white pepper sometimes, And that's a whole class of peppers, cream and pink and black. And it's usually just one plant going from pink to black. But and it's all about harvesting. But it's hard to find white pepper, so to use it as a descriptor.
It is hard to find. We used to use just the powdered white pepper you'd get, the dry peppers. And, like Red Zinfandel white pepper, in certain regions you get that white pepper essence.
Right.
That we actually did a part of a pairing dinner where we were pairing Red Zinfandel with a barbecue meal, right? Exactly. And one of the sides we did a smoked potato salad, which we now carry on our menu. but we actually added a little white pepper to that to balance it out. So we smoked the potatoes, parboiled them, smoked them for about 40 minutes, and then made the potato salad with it, but then added white pepper instead of black pepper to it, and it really made it very interesting.
Oh, totally.
Wonderful.
You can put some on the front so people know we're here.
Exactly.
Well, as soon as we're done our thing,
We'll go out there and rope them in. We're going to send them to you if they sneak in first, Judy, for that ticket. So if you do come down here, we're going to do the free tasting. It's going to be a wine and cheese pairing. So there'll be your choice of red or white wine. We're not going to be. You're not going to be doing the Grüner. And then there's going to be 4 different cheeses, flavors that you're going to be tasting. And it's just basically an experience, something to have fun with and try. So if you are in the neighborhood down here, please stop by around 6 o'clock. We're going to be starting it.
so while we were talking, I'm drinking this, and here comes the citrus now. I mean, it's almost like the apple's gone. And the citrus and...
Totally. Getting more almost like a...
Now and again, that flavor we was talking about, we got citrus. Well, how many citruses are there? That's how many variations you can have on that flavor, from a lemon to a lime to a key lime. You know, most places use a key lime as a descriptor. Most places that doesn't work. Here it does. And, you know, because everybody knows about it. But that's what I found. All the citrus came out now.
Definitely, and it's very, you know, it's not lemony, but it's somewhere, it's kind of somewhere in between like an orange, you know, a tangerine orange flavor and a lemon. I'm trying to identify the minor lemon. But yeah, it could be minor lemon, definitely.
Right. I'm afraid of the minor lemon tree. It's just starting to go off.
Definitely.
Last year I must have gotten 100 of them. Well, we'll see about this year.
She's been pretty strange for everything.
Yeah.
A little drought condition down here. My garden's looking pretty sparse right now.
So I guess in Austria there's maybe 3 or 4 main regions, and I believe this, where they're saying this is from the Niederösterreich, isn't even one of them. I don't
One of the
think.
major
Yeah, not one of the major ones. But again, there's, I don't know. I'd be curious to wonder how much wine is actually grown in Austria. It'd be interesting.
So this one's made from organic grapes, so we got that going for it. And the alcohol's 12% on this one, which is a little higher than...
It's lower than most wines. And nowadays, certainly most American wines.
all American wines are
And yeah, the alcohol in the American wines are higher than alcohol because it's hotter here. And there's more, when the grapes grow, there's more sugar. And there's more sugar for the yeast to eat, more alcohol. So, you know, but then you get to like German wines, there's Rieslings that have it 10.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and you mentioned a Vino Verde earlier, which is a very light kind of grape from Portugal. Yeah, I can see them at 9 and 8, which is, you know, I'm pretty sure there's a couple locally made beers that are higher now.
Yeah, right. The Vino Verde we're going to be doing this summer. That's my on the boat wine.
Oh, totally.
And Michael Broadbent puts a great one out. In fact, we're going to be doing one of his wines tonight. But his North Coast Cabernet will be one of the features. But yeah, Vino, I like it because it's got that little spritz to it, and it's low in alcohol, so I can drink with my Irish. My Irish consistency can stay consistent on the boat.
Safe for boating drinking.
Exactly. Give me something red and it's night. So this has changed and opened up a little bit, and you're starting to get some of those peppery spices.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing, we're going to be tasting some food with it here in a few minutes. And the one thing, you know, artichokes. We talk about artichokes, and we were able to secure an artichoke jalapeno dip that we're going to try with this to see how it changes.
So the 2 hardest things to pair wine with: artichokes and spice, and hop. You know, a Chardonnay, a Cabernet with although one exception, I had a great steak Springs, and they had a very spicy sauce to it, but it worked with the Grape. I brought a Fremont Cabernet Boucher, which I always claim is famous because it was the loser at Paris wine tasting. At least I got a bite. And the Boucher vineyard, the family won't let them put the name on it unless they like the vintage and the whole bit. So I always like that. And I had brought one with me, and I'm still with this hot steak, and it worked. But that's definitely the exception to the rule.
Very.
You know, so you go, normally people ask me, spicy, go into sashimi or sushi, and it's going to be spicy, whatever. I would always say champagne. Just champagne. But you can do Sauvignon Blanc. I think we could have done that Steen or that Chenin Blanc might have worked. I think this will work. And I think that has to do with the acid. And I mean, correct me if you think I'm differently, but this never saw a barrel. No. Yeah, and it's that barrel, that oakiness that comes out of the barrel is what kind of fights with the spice, and that's why when you drink
And it also runs over a lot of things too.
Yeah.
You get that oak in there. You take out a whole, you take out your fish dishes. You take out a lot of stuff that the wine just overpowers.
So and sometimes who cares? So what? I have this bottle and I want that, and so just it's what bread's for.
There you go. Cleanse the palate. Go again.
Right. So let's go. Want to try this goat cheese?
So we got a goat cheese. Herb. It's got some herbs in it, roasted garlic, and it's basically a feta, or a creamy feta.
Okay, and we've got one with chives on it, and one with peppers.
Let's do the chive first.
Do the chive. It was like the first bite was like lots of chive. It seemed like it was coming right from the wine even.
Just squash the wine down.
Yeah.
The wine just got very mellow.
Right, and I think the fat in the cheese. Yeah.
So the acidity.
That's why you got the big old cab. Get yourself some blue cheese. Get yourself some triple cream blue. That fat and the oak go together, as opposed to the other way. So.
All right, so now we're going to try the pepper.
Bell pepper.
Bringing the fruits back out again.
The bell pepper worked better, and there was only a little chive there, so I'm going to help it throw more. But the bell pepper brought it together.
Yeah, really, that worked really nice. So the bell peppers with the Grüner really balanced it out. I mean, when we were drinking it on its own, really changed it.
And now this wine is at the temperature I like. So, and you will always hear me say this probably every time, Tom, the 20-minute rule. You get a white wine, it's in the refrigerator. So when Tom put this on this table 20 minutes ago, it's pretty cold.
Yeah.
Now it's lost a little temperature and it's perfect. In a red wine, I like to leave them at room temperature, put them in the fridge for 20 minutes. The 20-minute rule,
I like that rule.
The 20-minute rule works pretty well because that red wine, you probably want to be drinking it 55 to 62, somewhere in there.
I like the low 60s, especially down here.
Right.
When you can, it's just like I said, we're in a warm environment down here, so it warms up fast, and when it warms up, the worst thing is going to a restaurant is been sitting on the counter there, and it's just that the alcohol is just dissipating out, and you get
Everything's dissipating out. I mean, at certain temperatures. I mean, a wine wine that, a red wine that hit got in the high 90s or mid 90s, it's probably never coming back. That's all the money people spend. Oh, let's throw a commercial in for the guy next week, and we'll be tasting next week at the what is he called? What's the place?
Category 5 store.
Category 5 store. So he's got controlled storage. You can rent a small. I don't know. Maybe we'll get into that, but
Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about that.
But you can rent a spot, keep treasured wines in, as opposed to in your house, and which if you're keeping it in your house and keep it in an interior closet. But even down here, that's not going to help. So if your air conditioner went out and you've been away for a couple of weeks, it depends on what you're using, of course, but you could lose thousands of dollars worth of money.
And that's one thing right now. We're getting ready to go into hurricane season in June, and a lot of people will take off for the 3 months. They've got backup generators. They've got the whole program going where they're guaranteeing that your product is not going to go bad. So you could leave it. You could rent it for 3 months or 6 months if you're leaving the area. So I think it's fantastic. It's a great addition to our community here, and those guys are terrific people too.
I don't know about you, but I rarely had a lot of wine in my own house. I drink it, of course, but I had the privilege of being able to go into work and take any bottle of wine and pay what we paid for. 10 years later, I'm getting like a Stag's Leap SLB, and I'm saying, hey, here's $50. And it's on the wine list for like $250 or more. Sure. So I never had all that at home. But I knew it could always go. And
I've always enjoyed wine. I mean, the older, I do have a couple older bottles, not a lot, just a few things that are sitting there. And I'm going to drink them if I think they hit their maturity level. I'm not going to say,
Well, that's what I say. I don't like people who collect dust. I love people who collect wine. But if they're just collecting that bottle and then they just want to sell that bottle.
So the next thing we're eating is a aged Gouda. So it's like a 20-year aged Gouda, I think.
Really?
And it doesn't taste like Gouda.
No.
Beamster is the one that I was introduced to years ago, which is fantastic. It's got the crystals in it, the salt crystals in it from it, and they're so amazing. They're one of my favorite cheeses. But this was, something I wanted to definitely try with this.
A little fight from the salt, but still, actually, they change into each other.
The wine, the acidity comes back. Right. You get the citrus comes back into it, almost the apple-y. This comes back.
For good reason.
Second bite get more balanced a little bit.
Yeah, they're second sipper. Go ahead, wine sipper. That's a second sipper. My wife, everything's second sipper because I don't like the first sip. And you don't like the first sip? Open your mouth wider. Everybody likes I'm not sure I like that. And you try to sneak it down the middle, and you're missing all the taste buds that are tasting different things are all missing. They used to say that your taste buds are concentrated. It's all on the tip of your tongue. I forget where they were, but more studies have said that you have all different flavors all around your mouth. But I can tell you, take a wine and go like that and spread it around your mouth. It tastes 100% different than.
And most of the time better.
And sneak it down there. Just to say, just forget your Catholic school education. Enjoy the wine.
Yeah, there you go. All right, so that was fun. Now we're gonna jump into this artichoke and jalapeno spread.
We'll see how hot it is, right?
This one, I've had this before, and I don't think it's going to be too hot. It's got a lot of the flavors of jalapeno without the big bite, you know.
And we'll see. Again, I think we're going to find this pretty creamy for the wine. They don't seem to like each other.
Yeah, no, not a
No, I mean,
kind of. I think the wine kind of beat up the artichoke.
Yeah, they just seem to like each other. And again, I'm wondering if it's
I don't know if
the fat of the cheese, but even it makes the jalapeno taste off almost.
Yeah.
It just brings out something unpleasant. You eat that, it tasted good. And then, but you follow it, and it just brings out a vegetal thing.
All right, so we got to think about the artichoke and the jalapeno part. I mean, I thought because, generally, I would recommend Grüner Veltliners with things that had a little bit of spice to it.
Right.
And they worked well with it. And then with an artichoke was supposed to be something that worked well with Grüner Veltliner. It's one of the only ones, and this doesn't work.
It doesn't. Neither one works.
No.
But I think the jalapeno works less.
Yeah.
Jalapeno, it's like a spicy jalapeno. By no means is this spicy at all.
No, it's even.
But you have that jalapeno, but it's almost like a bell pepperish flavor to it. And that's just, that's definitely my least favorite match.
Yes.
And, mismatch.
That definitely was not a good match. That was the one I thought was going to work the best, and it didn't work at all. Really? It just is what it is. So.
What are you going to do?
That's what it's all about. That's why you taste it.
And I guess we're probably getting close to the finish, but we are at the finish, and a lot of times you don't remember to taste the finish. It used to be good at finishes when I was waiting on tables and mixing wine at each table.
Right.
In Tahoe, no, I never poured a bottle of wine that I wasn't offered a taste of. At Pierre's, not once.
Really?
Not once. And I would be at the table, not even my table. 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Yeah, this wine, that wine, this Pinot Noir, Russian River.
Should have had your little tetzel on it.
No, and not once.
Take it.
See, in Tahoe, I put my glass there, and they'd be drinking something real expensive. And if I pour myself, the taste would be here. They poured it to there.
That's awesome.
But the reason's not to insult Island Rana diners, because I would never do that, because I am one. But I had a great appreciation for the finish. So I'd go over, talk to Kyle Kopitz, and I'm talking to him, drinking his 85 more go. Dad had the anniversary, and I think he poured that right wine. And then I'm working. So you run around the restaurant, through the kitchen into the bar, and then you go, where was I? Because you had a great. Now this finish is still going.
And when I started, what's awesome.
Yeah, or when I started that story, the finish is still happening. It's still kind of. I gotta say coating the palate because it's not that thick, but it's still all the way through my mouth. You can taste it all.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I mean, back in the day, I sold a lot of Grüner Veltliners because I thought they were just perfect for, if you're drinking white wine and you're dining in the restaurant that I'm working at.
And you have quite a varied thing, with the exception of, not hot jalapeno.
I mean, we try.
It can go with lots of things. And the answer before, wines like this or, what's the Spanish white?
The Albareños?
Albarino. They were using, before those came around and this came around, it was Sauvignon Blanc. Yeah. Or Sauvignon Blanc. Sauvignon Blanc. And that was kind of before even it had all its different expressions, from grassy in France to grapefruit in California to gooseberry in New Zealand. It was all different things, but they all still had that high acid, got your mouth watering, and 90% at least not oat.
Not most of them. Not
most
all.
of them
You get
were not. There was a few.
The Fumé Blanc.
Yeah, but they were, I don't know, that's just almost alcohol abuse. I like the ones when they went to concrete. You ever seen one of those concrete things?
I've seen the concrete fermenters, but I'm trying to remember the wine I had. I had a couple wines out that were made in those, which was pretty unique and pretty interesting. And I think it must have been Spanish.
Oh, I've seen them in California. I've seen them in that, but really, they look like it's like you go open it up and there's a mummy inside. And I'm sure it's not just your basic concrete, but the whole principle of it is to age the wine in itself, as opposed to aging the wine in oak that's going to impart different levels depending on how they do their oak, there's people that like more oak than others, and pun intended, they drink silver oak because it's oak and then maybe over oak in American oak, which is of itself a more in-your-face oak than limousine or anything you get in France. So,
but that's what the Spanish uses a lot of American oak in their wines because they were fighting with the French. They were fighting with the French for the longest time. So they basically went the old.
You can have not my barrel. You can have my barrel.
They can have my barrel.
No,
we don't want your barrel. We get it from the Americans.
Use American oak or
I mean, a lot of Riojas, a lot of the Grenache that comes out of there, they're using American oak.
Well, and it has, it's not the worst thing that happened to wine. It's just, it can be overused because people recognize it and say, I want that. I knew a winemaker in Foothills, and it's threw oak chips in the wine. Just chunks of oak chips. I mean, they were good oak chips, but he couldn't afford barrels. And, at the time, barrels were $1,500 and probably twice that.
That was one of our running jokes back when we would get an inexpensive wine and it was way over oak. I always used to pick up the bottle looking at it. I was looking for the oak chips in the bottom of the barrel.
Blisters out
Got a splitter on your lip.
Splinter from that. And again, and sometimes those wines are fun, but sometimes it's overdone, and so you have a big fat flabby oaky Chardonnay. Well, find a cheese that goes with, and that's it. But don't be trying to eat a nice delicate piece of hogfish with it. With a fat oaky Chardonnay. All you're going to taste is the oak. So, where are we? We need our notes.
Let's do this. Going through our notebooks here. We did the flavor, the finish.
Talked about all that. Fruits, herbaceous.
Thing. Like I said, we're going to have some fun here.
Yeah.
Anybody wants to come down and try some different things. And I think we got enough of this. You and I don't need it all. We might even give you
maybe another piece of that before we move on to the next one. The cheese tasting.
Exactly.
But come on down. It looks like a rather slow art walk, but you never know. We always have fun here at Realty One Group and Gates to Keys. Anybody who's been here can vouch for that. It's It's not a karaoke night this week. We usually save the karaoke nights for the busier in-season events and months. But we always have fun no matter what. And there's always,
And even if there's no karaoke, like tonight, we decided we're gonna taste some wine. Rich and I are, and we're gonna do wine and cheese, which is fun. Whether you're a red wine drinker, white wine drinker, we have one of each. I've got a Vermentino from Tuscany. So we got an Italian, which is a little more Chardonnay-like, this style. It's medium to medium full. And we have a North Coast Cabernet from Broadbent, Michael Broadbent. And
you didn't even know we did that.
can't really beat those two. So, I think we're going to have a lot
Yeah,
of
come on
fun.
down. I mean, we can just drink. We can drink and talk about it.
And you got what's your drink special though? You got
I tried it too. I can't believe it. Because that's some apple juice. What am I gonna do with this apple juice? And
just to let me break it for a second. So every month, Rich creates a different featured drink here at Part One. So it's not just a wine thing or whatever, that sort of thing. He creates a fun cocktail that's part of the Art Walk event of that.
and tonight is an apple mojito.
Apple mojito.
And, which is weird, but if you think about a mojito, it's just components. You have lemon or lime juice, so you got your sour, and then sweet, which can be, usually simple syrup, but for the sweetness, it's the apple juice. And then a slap, mint, you gotta slap your mint, you don't muddle your mint.
I remember that one.
Yeah, because if you slap your mint, it releases the oils, but if you muddle it, it can get bitter.
Weedy.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
just slap it, laddie.
I like that. I don't think I've ever heard that.
Rum, we got Floridicana, and nothing I like maybe a little darker than a white rum when I make my mojitos. And then club soda to keep you sane. And then I always use some kind of garnish, whatever herb's growing best in the back garden. So I don't know. I think I put some Thai base on. It's all about the look. But yeah, we always have that. We have beer, a selection of beers, soft drinks, and always our house Chardonnay, Sonoma Cutrer. Judy likes Sonoma Cutrer.
She likes Cutrer, so you're doing all right if you're coming down to visit.
Fat, flabby, all
All right.
Although it's a little more subtle than some.
Yes.
So I do like that. And we have the Cien Sun Pinot Noir from the Camus family. And again, North Coast.
Yep.
North Coast is a great place to grow wine because it used to be too cold, but not any longer. Not that I'm
Global warming.
Yeah. Careful. Careful who's watching.
Yeah, exactly. So anyways, we're going to wrap it up here. You guys, thank you for joining us. Tom?
It's always a pleasure, man.
My pleasure. Thank you for joining me. It's a pleasure having Rich with me today, having somebody that can, be a wine nerd with, and anybody who if you want to learn more about wine. In fact, we're going to be bringing Millie back pretty soon.
Oh, cool.
Millie sat in and did. She actually took my course. The course I put online. So we have atgc.info. You can go to the website, and there's a course for people who want to be enthusiasts, who are enthusiasts, who want to learn a little more about the basics of beer and wine. So when you go out, like Millie said, she made it perfect. She's like, when you go out and that person who's with you knows what they're talking about at the dinner table, he goes, that's cool. And, anybody can do that. And we try to teach everybody the basics in that course. So it takes about an hour to do. And it's inexpensive. It's $19.95 or whatever it is, $20. And you can go on, take it at your own speed, at your own time. And, we appreciate the feedback on it. I usually teach it to hospitality employees or people who retail, a few people who sell for companies, the brokers. But other than that,
and as I say, pay attention and talk about the wine for 3 minutes, 4 minutes in the beginning. Then go back to whatever conversation you were talking about before. You're surprised how much you remember. And I always say that palate memory is the hardest thing. How can you remember what you tasted, But that's because you don't put in that little bit of time to think about
No,
it.
definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, there's times, I mean, now obviously we've been doing this and focusing on this. So, I mean, there's things I remember. Oh, I remember that one. Oh, I remember what happened. And, I try to, we talked about it a couple of weeks ago. DRC was one of the oldest wines that I had tasted. It was almost 30 years, 28 years old. And I still remember we got a glass of it and we took a sip of it. And every time we took a sip, it changed. It was just the most amazing thing. And it was just super fun. But that's what it's all about. We're here to educate, have fun, and
Thanks, Thomas.
yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Have a good night, and we'll see you guys next week. Remember, a lot of fun next week. Decanting, Bordeaux, all sorts of fun stuff.
I got to suffer through all those old Bordeaux. I love that one.
It's great.